Hello, and congratulations on getting an internship. The application process isn't an easy one, but you did it. Now it's time to look ahead to the actual experience. You've landed your internship, but now what? Preparing for your internship can be both an exciting and nerve-wracking process. In this video, we'll go over everything you might need to know before your first day so you can arrive feeling confident, professional, and fully prepared for your experience. There are a few things to know before starting your internship. In this video, we'll cover housing and insurance, preparing for your first day, professionalism, potential problems on the job, and journaling. First, let's talk about housing. Typically, securing housing during the time of your internship is your responsibility unless otherwise noted by your employer. Sometimes employers will provide housing stipends to help you pay for your accommodations during that time. If you aren't sure whether you've been provided housing or a stipend, check with your employer. If you're having trouble finding a place to live during your internship, try asking your internship supervisor, the company HR team, or you can conduct your own search online. Now let's move on to medical insurance and taxes. They may not be the most exciting things to consider when preparing for your internship, but they're likely one of the most important. Be aware that your medical insurance may or may not be covered under your employer or your parents. Be sure to check with both parties to ensure you have appropriate medical insurance for the duration of your internship. If neither party is covering your internship, then you can purchase medical insurance from Wartburg Health Center. You won't automatically be enrolled in the student health plan at Wartburg, so be sure to go through the purchasing steps if needed. For taxes, make sure you fill out a W-4 so the appropriate taxes can be deducted from your paycheck. Most employers will help you with this. If your employer does not deduct taxes, then know that you're still responsible for paying them. If you have any questions about this, contact your employer before the start of your internship. The start of your internship is an exciting day. To ensure your first day is a great one, you'll want to prepare appropriately. First, know how long it will take to get to work. Whether you need to check Google Maps or drive the route yourself one day, knowing how long your commute is crucial to your timely and professional arrival. Avoid the stress of running behind on your first day. Second, know where you're expected to report to on your first day. Are you meeting in an office, the lobby, a restaurant for a happy first day of work breakfast with your new supervisor? Check with your supervisor before the start of your internship to know this. Next, know what time you start and end work each day to help you plan ahead and ensure you're in the office during your assigned work hours. Fourth, know how much time you're given for lunch each day and the options for your meal. Do you need to bring your lunch or can you buy it in the cafeteria? Check with your supervisor so you can plan appropriately. Next, know the dress code and check if you're required to wear any special clothing items such as safety goggles, hard hats, or closed-toed shoes. It's always a good idea to check in with your employer about the company dress code. A little later in this video, we'll provide examples for each level of professional dress as well. But when in doubt, always dress up rather than dressing down. It's always better to arrive dressed a little more formal than needed rather than being dressed too casual. And finally, make sure to bring any needed documents with you on your first day. Your employer should specify if any are needed. Now that you've done everything needed to prepare before the start of your internship, it's time to prepare for the steps you need to take on that very first day. One of the most important steps for you to take is to ensure you're introduced and shown around your new office or facility. Try to orient yourself to your surroundings and get to know your new coworkers. If your supervisor hasn't blocked out time for this, take the initiative to do so yourself. Before your internship, be sure to familiarize yourself with the company policies. Abide by all rules and regulations set by your employer. It's always a good idea to ask for a copy of the company policies if not offered one or available online as well. If you are unsure about the policy for a particular situation, then ask. There are no stupid questions. And lastly, be aware of employer confidentiality agreements. Do not disclose unauthorized information to people outside the company and always ask your employer before using any information gathered during your internship experience. Professionalism. First off, what is professionalism? Professionalism doesn't mean wearing a suit or carrying a briefcase. Rather, it means conducting oneself with responsibility, integrity, accountability, and excellence. It means communicating effectively and appropriately and always finding a way to be productive. Here are 4 steps you can take to exhibit professionalism in the workplace. First, don't be late to work. This is when knowing how long it takes to get to work comes in handy. Employers also know that sometimes things happen outside your control. For example, a car accident could be slowing down traffic on your way to work one day and cause you to be late. Things aren't always in your control. While arriving on time each day should always be a priority, if something does come up and end up causing you trouble, be sure to call your supervisor ahead of time and explain. Second, avoid office politics and gossip at all costs. Now's the time for you to demonstrate your professionalism and skills to your employer rather than your ability to get in on the office drama. Next, know the company policies regarding email, internet usage, cell phones, earbuds, etc. If you can rock out to your headphones while at work, that's great. But you'd hate for your supervisor to walk by and see this if that's not an acceptable behavior at your workplace. And finally, be sure to address your coworkers professionally, whether that's face-to-face, email, or on the phone. Every organization will have a different level of formality, so a good way to check is to ask a coworker on your first day or reply with the same level of formality as you receive in emails or on the phone. Before we get more into professional dress, there are a few things I want to call your attention to as ones to avoid doing during your internship. With internships, you only have a short amount of time to make a positive impression on a possible future employer. To effectively demonstrate your professionalism and make yourself seen as a potential future hire, you'll want to avoid exhibiting any of the following behaviors. First, being under the influence of drugs or alcohol while at work. Talking loudly on your phone. Complaining about your coworkers on social media. Coming to work sick. Spreading negativity. Showing up late for meetings. And using your phone during meetings for anything that isn't work-related. Now on to professional dress. Professional dress can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So it's always best to check with your internship supervisor ahead of time to learn what professional dress means to that organization. But to help you along, here's some example clothing that might be acceptable for different levels of professional dress. First, casual attire is most often going to refer to things like jeans, t-shirts, tennis shoes. Meanwhile, business casual includes more button-down shirts, blouses, dark jeans, or cotton pants. If your dress code is more business attire, then you might want to try items like blazers, closed-toed shoes or heels, or pencil skirts. And finally, if you need to dress business formal, then you might wear a suit and tie or a dress that is at least knee length. Again, these are just some examples, but professional dress means different things to a lot of people. So be sure to check with your supervisor before the start of your internship. For many of you, this might be your first experience working in a professional office setting. So things like answering the phone or writing professional email might be new to you. No need to worry though. We're going to provide some helpful instruction on both. Let's start with answering the phone. First thing to remember is first impressions are everything. This includes the first impressions on the phone. When you start your internship, try to pay attention to how others around you are answering the phone. When in doubt, follow what the full-time employees are doing. A few examples of how you might answer the phone professionally include something like, hello, University of Colorado Boulder, this is Brooke, how may I help you? Or simply, hello, this is Brooke Nelson. If you're unsure, it's always okay to ask as well, whether that be your supervisor or another employee working for that company, they'll be more than happy to provide you with some instruction. And finally, whenever you're taking messages, be sure to get all the important information noted down. This might include person's name, contact information, the organization they work for, date and time of the phone call, their actual message, and any follow-up steps required. Now on to writing a professional email. The important thing to remember is that this should not look like a text message you send to a friend. A professional email does not include any kind of emojis or texting shorthand. It needs to have a formal greeting such as Dear Scott or Hello, Mary. Only revert to a more casual greeting if you're responding to an email and a person who wrote to you used a more casual greeting to start with. In that case, you can follow their lead and use the same kind of greeting. Additionally, always make sure your email includes a subject line that clearly summarizes the topic of the email, as well as a formal signature or closing statement at the end of your message like best, thanks, or sincerely, followed by your name. Next, we wanted to provide some instruction over potential problems on the job and what you might do if you encounter one of these situations. We split them into 3 categories: harassment, injury, and other work-related problems. Hopefully, you'll never be put into a situation where you encounter one of these things, but it's better to be prepared and not need it rather than to be thrown into a situation like this and not know what to do. So let's start with harassment. Harassment is unwelcome conduct that is based on race, color, religion, sex, including sexual orientation, gender, identity, or pregnancy, national origin, age, disability, or genetic information, including family medical history. Harassment becomes unlawful when 1, enduring the offensive conduct becomes a condition of continued employment, or 2, the conduct is severe or pervasive enough to create a work environment that a reasonable person would consider intimidating, hostile, or abusive. If you encounter a situation where you're being harassed, whether that be verbally or sexually, notify your supervisor or the Human Resources Office immediately. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can also contact CU Boulder Campus Office of Institutional Equity and Compliance. And if you'd like additional support navigating these situations, you can always feel free to reach out to our Career Services Office for further assistance. If you happen to get injured on the job, follow these steps. First, seek help immediately, whether that be going to medical services in the organization or leaving work early to go to the hospital. Do what you need to do to ensure your physical health and safety. Second, inform your supervisor as quick as you can. They can usually provide direction in the situation as well, and they'll need to be updated about your condition. Next, notify your departmental coordinator and university coordinator so they're also in the loop and can take necessary steps on their part. And lastly, follow your employer's workers' compensation insurance policies and procedures so any medical expenses are properly taken care of. Your supervisor will likely be able to fill you in on this as well. Now let's move on to other work-related problems and how to respond. Though we hope your internship is nothing but rainbows and sunshine, it's important to know that sometimes conflicts arise, and it's important to know how to respond in a professional manner when confronted with these situations. If you have a conflict with another employee, here are some ways you might navigate the situation. First, try resolving the problem with the employee yourself. Try talking to them about it one-on-one in a calm and respectful manner. Avoid any blaming language and simply express your side of things. Be sure to acknowledge their side as well, and then brainstorm ways for more cooperative and effective or more effective cooperation in the future. If that doesn't work, then try talking to your supervisor and asking them for help resolving the situation. And finally, if neither of these first 2 options work, you can always seek advice from your internship coordinator at CU. Finally, when preparing for your internship, it's important to remember the importance of journaling and to make a plan for it during your experience. It may seem like an unnecessary or tedious activity to some, but taking 5 to 10 minutes twice a week to journal can be incredibly helpful for you later on. It's hard to remember everything you do during your internship, so taking detailed notes in your journal can help when it comes time to update your resume. It can also help you write any needed end-of-term report and can serve as an important legal function if necessary. Trust me, taking the time to journal every other day will save you a lot of time and energy down the road. Thank you all for your time today, and we hope this pre-internship video resource has provided all the information needed for you to go into your internship feeling confident and prepared. And if you're confused or need any further career advice, we are here to help.